goes on and we're drinking Iron Brew. Well, I'm not. You are. Why are you drinking Iron Brew?
Iron Brew Scottish Cup. It's not Scottish Cup. Iron Brew Cup winners.
We've got beer, we've got rum. We've got some David Beckham whiskey over there, but you're on the brew, fair enough.
I am.
Is it because it's tangerine?
Aye, matches the
tangerine.
shot, does it?
It's got to be.
Yep. It's got to be tangerine.
So here we are with another Dundee United podcast, but this time with one of my oldest friends, Mr. Craig Duncan. How are you, first of all?
Getting on quite well, considering circumstances.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yes, anytime.
Yeah,
hopefully.
It's good to have you here, mate.
Yeah.
Aye. Well,
pleasure.
You could have said that with a smile rather than forcing it.
Matt's thinking 2-1 United against Dundee podcast. You're going to need to get
just read the prompter, okay?
You're going to need to get another Dundee fan on it, even this up.
I'm going to have to. I think we might need to get Harry on.
Oh, here. When you'd watch that, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Mr. Ego talking about Dundee. Imagine his 11. He wouldn't go for like good players. He would just go for like memes. Everyone would be a meme.
Most of all throws.
Matt Lockwood's definitely at left back in this team.
Absolutely. I know Harry loves my Lockwood.
I know. So anyway, enough about Harry and future podcasts. We're here to talk about your podcast.
Yes.
So Mr. Craig Duncan, how did you first start supporting your beloved Dundee United Football Club?
Well, same as most people.
Yeah.
Dad supported United.
Yeah.
Most of my family did.
Yeah.
My dad's always said this as well, that he was watching the game on TV one day and I just naturally liked the orange team.
There you go.
When I was about 2 or 3 years old.
Do you remember who you were playing at the time?
No, not a clue. Probably Celtic or Rangers because it was on TV.
Was it a couple of months later you found out you were colourblind?
I've made a massive mistake. You've done it now, son. You've committed.
No, but partly just my dad was always like he took me to games when I was baby upwards, you know what I mean? So it's always just been the love there. You know
Born into the family.
Pretty much.
Well, obviously I know your family. You're all big, massive Arabs, so
yes,
I think there was no doubt you were going to end up being a United fan, was there?
It wasn't like it was forced upon us either. It was just a natural sort of thing. I would ask to go to the football every week. Dad didn't have a choice. Got a season ticket when I was 6, and that was it. From there on upwards. So, yeah.
Like you say, we've spoken about that before, Dan. That's the way it normally starts. Is who your family supports. Your dad normally, is it? And then you follow who they like. You know?
I think it's nice when that happens though. Like it was a similar thing with me. In a way, it's nice that it wasn't like, for me, Daniel, you're a Celtic fan because I'm a Celtic fan. Same way your dad was like, you're a United fan because I'm a Celtic fan. It's nice that you take that interest in football and then you naturally gravitate towards maybe your old man's team or your uncle's team in your case or whatever. Yeah. Then it's not like you don't have a choice. This is what you're doing. This is how you're going to identify yourself as a football fan for the rest of your life.
Going on like you were saying, like my uncle was a big Rangers fan. And he always said to me growing up, I'm going to take you to Ibrox one day. I just kept saying no. I didn't want to go. Like I liked going to the, I don't know if it was a family thing or like I liked going to the football with my dad every week and going to see United. That's what I enjoyed doing. So naturally, I was wanting to do. So when I got told, we'll take you here, I'm just like, I don't want to do it. No, like I want to do this.
Enjoy that. Yeah.
So that's just the way it was.
That's good, mate. That's how it works. That's how it normally starts.
Charlie Miller had been to Rangers and then he was at United. So it was better. Charlie Miller mentioned again,
Was it better? Don't know if Charlie would agree with that one.
Some boots though. I keep talking about Charlie Miller's boots. We didn't. I hinted this in the podcast we did with Sam about the whole Charlie Miller and Beckham thing. I'm guessing you know about that.
Yes.
So why don't you explain this joke for people that actually don't know about it quickly?
It was the Predators, was it?
Yeah. Adidas ones.
Yeah, and David Beckham had the same pair of boots as Charlie Adam, but his never got delivered. Or there was some mix-up.
Have you heard of this story?
I've not.
No, right.
What, the same boots as Charlie Miller?
Yeah. So they had, I don't know if they had a deal with them but the Predators, and it had like C8, like, and it was Charlie Miller's personalised boots from Adidas Predators.
Right.
And David Beckham had the same boots, but something happened. So David Beckham ended up wearing Charlie Miller's boots when he scored that goal from halfway line against Palace.
Fuck off.
He's got Charlie Miller's
Sorry
boots
for
on.
the language, guys, but wow.
Shocking.
I did not know
that. You don't know that?
So they were Charlie Miller's boots.
I thought you were
wearing Charlie Miller's boots when he scored that.
His boots
I
never
thought
came.
you were a man of culture and you would have known that.
I really did.
Oh, yeah.
So
I wonder if these guys know.
There you go.
So that was it. He was wearing Charlie Miller's boots.
Wow.
Personalised boots when he scored that goal for the half.
So that whole other podcast, you're thinking, what's Dan going on about with Charlie Miller and David Beckham's boots? Yeah, that's what
I
it
was literally thinking that as well. I was like,
Yeah,
what are you
yeah.
talking about?
That's like the
was
story. I hope it's true, because that's amazing if that's true.
Somebody somewhere's probably got a still like with C8 on the boot somewhere or something.
Wow.
But yeah, that was.
I mean, that's the only reason it went in, because it was Charlie Miller's boots.
That's it.
And maybe that's why Charlie Miller was so good, because he was wearing David Beckham's boots.
I'm more surprised that Charlie Miller's size can fit in the same boots as David Beckham.
I was about to say, gives you think there'd be a wee bit of a difference there. Charlie Miller would be like a size 5 or something, you know what I mean?
He's short, stumpy, but
Aye,
David
aye.
Beckham's great.
You know what? Charlie Miller gives you hope. Charlie Miller gives you hope. Everyone can do it. It's not too late.
He's got fitter as he's got older though, isn't he? Like he's in actually good shape now, I think, than he was when he was playing. But there you go, eh? Anyway, so I mean, obviously that's how you started supporting United then, Craig. So I mean, what was your first memories of football general? Yeah, like what was your first
Not
memories
even
of
necessarily
football
United
in
then.
general then?
Yeah.
Well, my first memory I can remember quite clearly because it was a traumatic incident as a child. It was Billy Dodds' debut for Dundee United at McDermott Park. He scored a hat-trick on his debut for United. We made a swap deal with Robbie Winters and we got 700 grand.
Aberdeen.
Yeah, Robbie Winters and 700k. Billy Dodds and 700k for Robbie Winters. And on his debut, Billy Dodds scored a hat-trick. And he scored a penalty for his second goal. And this was 1998, I think.
Right.
So I was stand on the seat, so I can see with my dad, stand on the seat. Penalty went in, I jump up, seat goes down, I fall in the seat.
That was your first memory?
Yes.
So
I see why you didn't forget it.
Yeah, so I said about a month or two before I turned 4-year-old. So I'm stuck in the back of the seat. My dad's just trying to pull us straight up. My legs are getting ripped to shreds. But we won 3-1 that game. Billy Dodds hat trick on his debut. So
that
that's
explains why he's
stuck
4
in my
foot
head.
5, guys.
So that's the first memory that sticks in my head was that. It just so happened to be his debut. It was just a penalty. I remember standing on the seat because I couldn't see. Everyone standing up as a penalty. That's when they didn't have the segregation in the stand. The far away stand is like mixed. So we were in with St Johnstone fans as well. So the game is with us. The penalties at our end.
I'm glad you clarified it was the fans, because the way you said segregation there, I was like, oh no. Hold on a minute.
No, but back then, even look at the video on YouTube. Half the stadium cheers, half the stadium just sits down because it's St Johnstone fans.
Yeah.
The 6 of them that they have, but they're there.
They tend to get slated a lot in this podcast, Dan, don't they?
Well,
St Johnstone.
I have a feeling later on when Craig starts talking about away days, we might end up talking about St Johnstone again. But I'll leave that for later.
Yes.
But I mean, the thing is, we'll love Sean Rooney.
Oh, Sean Rees, man.
Sean Rooney's fine. Just
The rest
St
of the
Johnstone.
I've just signed him on a 3 for 4 for on Football Manager. What a man.
So I mean, that was your first memories of football then, falling down a chair.
Yes, in 98.
And
And
seeing
then there's been a
Dodds
gap
score
after that, but seeing Billy Dodds score, yeah.
What about like away from United then, Craig? Was that like the first one you were like, oh, I really remember this, or was there maybe like a match you watched on TV or anything?
No, I think that was the
You were
first
like-
memory. Like, I was only 3 years old at the time,
like
just
3, 4
before
years old,
I
yeah.
turned 4. So that was my first memory of football.
That's really early, yeah.
But then my dad was always watching football on TV, and I just sit and watch him. I didn't think it was partly because of football, partly because of I want to do something with my dad.
Yeah,
As a
exactly.
kid,
Father
that's what
son
you
time,
do,
isn't it?
yeah. You sit and watch the football. Doesn't matter what game's on, whether it's Premier League, Scottish, doesn't matter. We sat and watch football every Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
That's just what we did.
That was one thing I
exactly.
did when I was growing up as well. Especially being a Celtic fan from Dundee. I would like go and see any game that I could, or watch any game that I could in the telly. It didn't have to be like Celtic, even though I was a Celtic fan. So I would go to Dens or Tannadice, whatever. My uncle used to go and take me. My uncle's a big Aberdeen fan, so when we would go, he lives in Elgin. So sometimes we would like go on family trips up to Elgin to visit him, and then on the Saturday, my mum and my auntie and my nana might go shopping,
And you go to
and then I'd go on the train with my cousin and my uncle down to Aberdeen and go and see them. Like at that age, you're just obsessed with football, not even just about.
And it's a
Dundee
day
or
out
Dundee
and
United.
everything as
Exactly.
well. It goes with
You
it.
want to
Like
absorb
you
as
said,
much
you've
as you
been
can.
to Dens and Tannadice. I've been to Dens a few times, even in the home end.
Yeah.
I'm not
Right,
supporting
love
them,
it,
but
Craig,
if United were away,
Of course, you being a massive member of the Dundee Utility.
under
Who's at home this week? Right, we'll go and see them and battle the opposition.
Utility.
He's on the boat today.
my dad's a fireman, so
That's the key, keep on drinking.
he works shifts and weekends and that, so we couldn't always get to games. And if United were playing away, and he was working. Then we got to the game, and I just wanted to go football.
Let's go and watch Dundee.
Me and Grant would sometimes go watch Dundee Violet, but only up the road from us.
Juniors and that as well.
Yeah.
Our local team, Dundee
But you
Violet.
get in for £1 or £2 because it's round the corner.
Yeah.
But my
Or
uncle,
sneaking.
my uncle's a big Dundee fan, and with my cousins and
Yeah.
that. And sometimes they'd have a spare ticket and go, "Do you want to come?"
We'll
So
come, yeah.
I would go. It's
Why
a game of
not?
football.
Yeah.
You're going to watch a game of football. Granted, yes, it's a Dundee.
We used to do that a
Dundee
lot
end,
when we were at high school. I remember, especially with your dad, like if your dad was working and say Dundee United were playing at midweek or
Yeah, I'd
something,
give him a seat ticket.
he'd be like, "Oh, Dan, do you want to come and watch like United versus like Motherwell?" I'm like, yeah, I'll come.
Yeah, it's a
Why
good
not?
ticket.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a United fan first, but I'm a football's fan. You know what I mean? Like, I still want
I
United to
know
win, and
it's-
I'd
yeah.
rather go and watch United. But if I can't, and there's a game of football on, and it's a free
you
ticket,
want
I'll
to
go and watch
see
the
it,
game
yeah.
of
Well, you've
football.
done that with me before as well.
Yeah,
There's been games
not that
where like
long ago,
there's been games where
Yeah.
like say my dad or like one of my pals like has been able to go. So I'm like, oh, remember you came to a Europa League game?
That's
at
what I was
Parkhead
going to
because,
say,
like,
yeah, because that was what the Salzburg was, it?
I think we got smashed by them because
They were a good,
yeah.
a good side. That was only a couple of years ago, though, wasn't it?
I've actually seen Dundee at Hampden.
Oh, did you go? Was this the Gretna game?
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
Sorry, I had to get that in. Cheers. I had to get that in there.
you in the Gretna end?
No, I was in the Dundee end.
Kenny the good song.
Ex-United player centre half. I'm Chris Innes. Danny Granger played for Gretna as
Guinness.
well. But no, that was another one. It was an extra ticket somebody boy pulled out that went, "Do you want to come through with her?" They were driving through. It wasn't even the
Quite
bus.
right, yeah.
Drove through. Saturday game of football. Laughed at what it was in
Well, that was credit there.
This is terrible. Isn't it?
Absolute trash.
Car like 4 bubbies plus the truffle. I'm sitting there like, that was a great day. Like,
Good for Gretna.
Singing for blooming Beautiful Sunday in the back.
what was that way? We would have got left to the side of the road in M8.
So I mean, that was obviously your first memories then, and
Aye.
you know you've got a love for football then, Craig. That's
Yeah.
that's what boils down to. But obviously your main team's United. I mean, what was the first match that you went to? Is that obviously what you were speaking about with
Well, I've been to
that
matches
game
before.
with Billy Dodds? Then is that the one that you really
That's
remember?
the first match I really remember. The second match I remember after that, coincidentally, it was also McDermott Park in 2001 when we stayed up.
Right.
Because I was on the pitch that day. Same as everybody else.
Right. Okay.
We won 3-2. Derek Willis scored in the last minute. And
Right.
that secured us
Safety.
that
Right.
year. So I was in the same stand again, the sort of like the mixed stand. And then Abdi ran on the pitch at the final whistle. And I remember that as well. I was probably about 6 at the time, 6, 7 year old. And then after that, memories a lot more clear and vivid. I was looking through the teams and that before I came on here.
Yeah.
And after like the 2001 period with Derek Wilway and stuff in the team, I can name most of the teams.
So
after
who else?
Yeah.
Who else was playing around about that point then?
Well,
When you first started going to watch them?
Charlie Miller was in there the early 2000s. Derek Wilway, Jim McIntyre came in. You had my dad always talks about Seb Dykstra in the goal, and he was in goal for the game I seen in debut, but I don't really remember him that much.
Yeah.
Then Alan Coombe came in after
Alan
that.
Coombe,
Paul
good keeper,
Gallagher.
United have always had good goalkeepers.
We've also until the last few years, we've always had a good consistent goalkeeper. So but like Derek Wilway and that growing up, and then Derek McInnes in the midfield, we had Charlie Miller, Barry Robson, players like that as I was growing up.
Yeah.
They sort of came into the fold, and that's when I started enjoyed going to the matches week in, week out. So that's the players that I remember from an early age growing up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so like the teams that you've grown up with.
yeah, you
That's
look
it.
back
I
and
mean,
you forget some boys, and you look back and think, oh, I remember
Yeah.
him.
Oh, they love
I
that.
know it's like it's until like you look back and you're like, oh, look at that team back then. You're like,
Like what, like Jason DeVos at centre half,
Yeah.
which is a bit of an obscure reference to some people. But see, when you think about it, going, I remember him every single week. You know what I mean? Canadian boy, hard as nails.
You had guys like I remember from United when I was a kid. You had guys like Danny Griffin was the right back.
Danny
was
Griffin
it?
at right back.
You
Yeah,
had like Andy McLaren was that a left winger.
he came back. He was in the '94 Cup winning squad.
Yeah.
He left.
He went to Kilmarnock for a bit, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he went down south for a bit. Then he had a drug problem. And came
Did he?
back up after he got sober and played
Good.
for us at the end of his career.
Yeah.
Um,
And then I remember boys when I was growing up for United, like Craig Easton as well.
Yeah, Craig Easton, David Hanna came
Yeah,
back
David
as well.
Hanna was a good
He was in
player.
the midfield. You had Jim McIntyre, Derek Wilway up front. Stephen Thompson came in.
Stephen Thompson.
Billy
I
Dodds
ended up
came
at
in,
Rangers,
left,
didn't
came
he?
back. Loads of boys that sort of like heroes of the time, but you forget, like, as you grow up, recency bias is a big thing.
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I
definitely.
mean? But
Because
when
it's,
you look back-
it's so easy for you to remember most recent stuff, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but then
That's
when
it.
you look back at the team, you think, oh,
Aye.
I can't believe we had them. Like,
Some good players in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
aye, like you were saying, Charlie Miller was outstanding on his day. But you think oh, Chalmers just a wee chubby boy that played football. But
I mean, he was a good footballer.
when you look at highlights or you look back at old games, he was a very good player.
Aye. Yeah, he was a good player. And that's the thing, like, there's a few other podcasts I've watched as well that mention Charlie Miller. And that's the thing, I can't really remember him, like, breaking through and things, like, during that time. But I remember, like, watching clips of him and stuff, you know, and he is, like, an outstanding player. But during that time when he came through at Rangers, that's when, like, the big players were there, you know, and he was
that's when guys
through
like
the academy.
That's when guys were like Laudrup and Gascoigne.
That's what I'm saying. That's
like
peak, and he's managed to like break into that. Like he was playing games for them as well, you know.
I mean, like that's when like
That's
Rangers,
really
Rangers
impressive.
literally had like Champions League winners, and like well, in Gascoigne's case, like arguably one of the best players of his generation at that point, and all that. Unbelievable midfield Rangers had at that point. So for a guy like Miller to even get
get a sniff in that team, like.
And you mentioned another guy, McInnes was playing for them at that point as well. So for them to go on and like, I didn't know actually Derek McInnes played for them.
Yeah, he played in centre midfield with Mark Kerr, who we'll not mention too much.
Championship manager legend. Yeah. Good at a back pass.
The thing is, when you look back at Mark Kerr, he was a very good player, and he's just been tarnished by one moment. You know what I mean? But it was a very big moment.
But if you put him in a team with Freddie Adu, he'll do wonders.
Yeah. Very obscure reference there, but I like it.
Those who get that, you my kind of people.
Comment below.
Actually,
don't.
That was lovely, Dan.
That's it.
Will I go on? Will I take the next bit?
Yeah, you could.
So we're going on from like your first experience or whatever. What is your peak as a Dundee United fan going to games?
Well, the peak is obviously the Scottish Cup.
Scottish Cup final. You going for 2010 as well?
Yeah, that's got to be the peak. I was 15 at the time, so it was again good memory.
Yeah.
Wasn't drunk, so I remember all of it.
You weren't drunk? You sure?
No. Mum, don't watch. But no,
15-year-olds from Dundee on a big day. No,
the Scottish Cup is the best memory. You know what I mean? It's just the pure emotion of that day. Like you're saying, like with United, you never go in thinking we're going to win this.
No,
match.
this is the thing. I didn't really ask Sam about this when we did his podcast, but there was like the element of I think everyone kind of knew that United should go and win that game, and that was probably backed up with the fact that you brought like 30,000 people through for that.
Yeah.
But that must have put there's that bit of you in the back of your mind thinking, it's still Dundee United in the Scottish Cup final. I think I'm right in saying that you guys have lost more finals than anyone else.
We've lost a total of 7, I believe.
United are amazing at getting to the final.
Scottish Cup 7.
United are very good at getting to the Scottish Cup final, but they've only won it twice.
Actually, looking back, when I was looking through the old teams, even in early 2000s, that we were getting to semi-finals.
Yeah.
A lot of
United
years.
are very good at getting far in the cup, but they rarely win it. That's the thing.
Weird, eh?
So even then, you're thinking,
Just
right,
mentality.
I'm sure Ross County was still in the first division at that point. They put Celtic in the
they
semi-final.
put Celtic in the semi.
There's probably that part of you thinking, they just beat Celtic. We should win this game, but it's United in a final.
Yeah,
so even though you're thinking, right, our team's that was a quality United team.
It was a good side.
So you're thinking, right, we should do this, but there must be that part of you that's still a bit. Could we United it?
Hold on. It's Hibs. You can't just change it.
In a final, it's United.
I mean, last time you said, Dundee it, now it's a United it, now there's Hibs.
Yeah, you do go and expecting to win the game, which you don't do very often as a United fan. You expect to turn up and stroll it.
You're like, surely this time. And then in the end you did, but I bet you were nervous until that first goal went in.
We've got 2 cup finals in the last 5 years. The Celtic game and the Rangers game, we took them to penalties, but obviously, again, Mark Kerr, we'll talk about that, right? But the Celtic game, obviously, that was a bit of a scoff goal you got.
Alan Thompson got it.
The free kick that was just driven on low, and I think
Just
Kenneth put it in, or whatever. And then Alan Archibald hit the bar from 35 yards out in the last couple of minutes. I remember that.
It was a very boring final, that.
Yeah.
Celtic scored really early, and then that was kind of it.
Yeah.
That was Martin O'Neill's last game in charge.
Was it?
Yeah.
I remember that day because obviously that day was my first final. I was greeting and my dad's like, I didn't worry, we'll be back one day and we'll win it. And at the time you're like, okay, whatever.
Mystic Scott.
And then you get to there's the CIS at the time, obviously the League Cup final against Rangers, lose on penalties, and you're thinking again, here we go. And my dad's had this his whole life. He's been to 7 finals and only seen 1 win. You know what I mean? Like, you don't expect to win eventually. Then we got there again.
I mean, that's the thing. Think about when United were like one of the best teams in Scotland in the 80s. they never won. They won the league,
Yeah.
but they would get to finals and then like lose.
Never won
Yeah,
it.
it's weird, eh? I think
You won a couple of League Cups, I remember, but
Won a
it was
couple
you,
League Cups
you never won.
very early.
Never won the Scottish until
No.
'94.
I think that the thing is, it's a mentality thing. It's got to be. There's got to be like a block for the players that must just be like,
Well,
or maybe it's a pressure, or
I don't know.
because like I mean, I know that we've mentioned it there about like Hibs, for example, but they're like in the same bracket there. You know what I mean? They must have that thought in the back of their head. You know what I mean? It's a final. I can't.
Even though it's like different players, we as a club haven't done this.
Exactly.
Therefore,
Yeah.
it puts
Yeah.
that pressure on.
Yeah.
that's what I was saying in the 80s. I remember seeing about it. Obviously, I wasn't about, but we played as St Mirren in the final of the Scottish Cup in '87,
Yeah.
in between the UEFA Cup final.
Mm.
So we played one game UEFA Cup final, St Mirren in the final of the Cup,
It was
and then
was
the
it
other
Gothenburg?
Gothenburg. And we lost that final in the middle, which is obviously, if you win all 3 games, it's one of the best moments in history. Then you end up winning nothing. You know what I mean? So it's just one of these things. Like, it's a hurdle we can never get over. And then even after you won it in '94, it's still a hurdle that seemed like daunting almost. You know what I mean? Like you're getting there, but you're still never quite getting over the line. It's happened again since. You know what I mean? That St Johnstone final, we expected to stole that.
Yeah.
We turned up that day, my dad went, "How we going to win?" I went, "Yeah." 10 minutes in, I thought, "No."
There was boys getting tattoos saying cup winners on their leg.
Like I was just one of those.
I mean, we've said it before on this podcast. That Dundee United team in 2014 was so good, and the players that played in that squad have gone on to prove how good they were since then. It's mental that they didn't do it on that game, but that season I think St Johnstone were United's bogey team.
Oh,
I think you'd lost them 2 or 3 times already that
It's
season.
just Stevie May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said it again
The season
before.
of his life.
They scored
Ah,
like
yeah.
2 St Johnstone goals, like a goal from a set piece and then
Ryan
like a
Dow
scrappy
hit the
finish.
post as well.
Hit the post. Chifty hit the bar from a free kick. It just wouldn't go in.
No,
It
just
was one of those days, exactly.
But like you're saying, before the game, you're thinking this is ours, and then I don't know what it was. You get those gut feelings in football. Everyone gets it. We got to the game and I have these drunken jumping boot. Me and my dad both looked at each
This is
other.
in the bag.
Like, everyone's thinking that. Me and my dad looked at each other at the start of the game and thought, "You're going to win it." We're like, "Yeah," but we all had, you're kind of sitting going,
It's still United in a final.
yeah,
They've
but
got to go and do
you've
it.
got that wee bit of doubt, and then the game started, and then Stephen Arnold scored
could
that
just
header, and
see-
you're just like,
yeah.
we're no getting it.
I totally get that though, because I've been there even as a Celtic fan who have been all conquering until recently for so long. Any football fan knows a game starts. You can probably tell after about 10 minutes. This lot didn't fancy this today.
Yeah.
Our players didn't fancy this today. It's going to be a long day if we're going to get a result.
It's like
Doesn't
that,
matter
like-
how better you are in terms on paper of the other team. Sometimes you can just tell if the team
Football's
are
not one on paper, is it?
Exactly.
exactly.
It's one on that big green thing out in front of you. And sometimes you can just tell when your boys aren't up for it and you're thinking, geez, it's going to take a lot for us to win the day.
And I know it's a cliche, but it's what everyone always says. It's like the beauty of the cup and that as well. You know what I mean? Like, because they know as long as they've got a chance. It's just a one-off game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
If they turn up and play
On that
and
one
the
day.
other team don't fancy it, then that's
like
it.
you were saying
know?
about best memories, the semi-final against Aberdeen, that was an amazing day. Like, as a football experience, that semi-final against Aberdeen where we came from 1-0 down to win 2-1.
Was that 2010?
No, before the St Johnstone final.
I thought you beat Rangers that year.
No, that was the
Ibrox.
2010 with David
Oh, was that 2010?
David Robertson's arse.
No, but I'm thinking when you won at Ibrox. I'm sure that was that not 2014?
Maybe it
Shifty scored the open goal.
Aye, what was that? No, Aberdeen was the Celtic one a year later.
Okay.
Sorry, but that Aberdeen game against semi before we got against Celtic.
Oh, yeah, I know which final you're on about now.
Yeah.
When we signed Mackay Stephen and Armstrong.
Yeah, we literally.
I'm just guaranteed that win.
Yeah. We beat
They're
Aberdeen.
quite good then. We'll just buy their best 2 players. I mean, they're good anyway. Let's buy them before the final.
Because I think it was January or something. We beat Aberdeen,
Aye.
and what I'm saying is 2-1.
Yeah, because this was when the League Cup final was in March. Obviously, recently it's been moved to November.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. We would have been in the final before then, and then the January transfer window comes in.
Yeah.
Take that.
But
You'll do.
that semi-final was a great day out. The final, the 2014 final.
A big
against
rivalry with
Aberdeen.
Aberdeen as well. So like obviously that's going to
Yeah.
rank up there. So with
Well, that's obviously your favourite match day experience
Yeah.
was the Scottish Cup, the final in 2010, right?
Yeah.
we had the peak.
Now,
What's
what
the
about
trough?
the lowest then? What's your
Marcus
The match
Sullivan right
day.
now.
what's your worst match
Pain.
day experience?
Worst match experience every single Friday night away at Alwa.
Oh,
He just hates bees.
No, they were brutal.
Wait, bees?
Like, there's some matches you don't.
wasps are they not?
I've never really had. I've never had a match where I've like it's been a very, very, very bad day. I've been to matches like I stood at Petardry in the rain and got humped 3-0 and just sat there drenched the whole time. It was just a miserable
and
day.
Crying and everything as well.
No, I was old enough. But I've had miserable games like that, or like if I'm saying, oh, we'll lose 1-0 away, and you're just like, well, what's the point in this? It's in November. It's on TV. I could have watched it in the house, and I'm sitting here freezing my arse off, watching us get beat 1-0 from Malmo. What am I doing here? You know what I mean? That's you never question football, but at the same time you question. It's just the feeling of I don't want to go, but I'm going. Like you know what I mean?
It's your duty.
Yeah, there's been matches.
You signed up for this.
I chose this team. Why?
And then on top of that, you choose to be there. You choose to go to that game and pay money, and then you know you shouldn't have, but you do it anyway.
I know.
But I wasn't actually at the Dundee Derby, so I can't mention that as.
Did you not watch it? No.
I was working.
Look at you.
I thought it was overtime actually that day.
Yes, I work.
But no, I can't. There's nothing that sticks in the memory of like proper down games, apart from maybe 2005 or 2008 finals. Finals are always more emotional, aren't they?
Yeah.
Especially as a kid, you think, oh, look, this could be it, and then you lose and you're heartbroken. Like some people don't understand football, but you can be genuinely heartbroken over one game.
Oh yeah.
And it's mental, you know what I mean? So probably the cup finals is like my biggest sort of heartbreaking moment in my woes of football. Like you want to swallow up in a hole, just not be there anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's always funny when you get people who aren't in like the football bubble and they genuinely don't know how you can genuinely be like so down in the dumps for like a good couple of days after a result. It's like you don't get it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I remember clear as day. One of the worst ones I've seen was my good mate Robbie. And we went through, like, Robbie's actually a Hearts fan. Went through Hearts Rangers game. It was at Murrayfield. We got the train through. And, we're having a brilliant time in that. Had the beers on the train. Went through. Then Robbie tells us, oh, Kenny Miller's starting. Because I think he had, like, fell out with the manager or something at a point. Or was injured and he's coming back. I was like, it's written. He's away to score against you here. Like, no brainer. What happens? He goes and scores a double, does he? Lafferty scored
the free kick.
Yeah. Then Kenny Miller just took it away from there. And generally, that train journey back from Edinburgh to Dundee, Robbie did not say a word. Yeah. The whole way back because of Kenny Miller.
Well, my girlfriend doesn't get it. She's like, why is your Saturdays dependent on how you
I thought you were saying my girlfriend loves Kenny Miller.
Loves Kenny Miller. Like you were saying, people don't understand the emotions of football. Yeah. Like, if United win, I'm in a good mood. If I lose, I'm not. And
that's what I'm saying.
She's like, why does your Saturday get affected by how United perform? It's only football. And I'm like, but it's not only football.
It's not.
This has been since I was 3 years old. Yeah. Football's what I've done.
That's all you know, really, is it?
It's all you've ever loved.
Playing it wasn't anything like that, but it's football, you know what I mean? It's life for most people, isn't it?
I know, mate. I know. That's it, eh? It's what you look forward to at the weekend.
Yeah. Like, there's been games, I remember, me and my cousin, I was 16, my cousin was just turned 40. And I told my mum we were going to the Olympia for swimming. And we got on a train and went to Kilmarnock. Well, actually, she gave us 20 quid to get, I had a job at the time, worked in Tesco. And we used that money and went on a train to Glasgow, walked from Queen Street into Central, and then got a train to Kilmarnock and walked to the ground on a Saturday afternoon just to watch
Craig's mum's thinking,
and she's
the
thinking,
yellow badge must be finished by.
Yeah, we won 4-1.
It was worth it then, eh?
So it was worth it, but at the time, sort of thinking going back then.
They must be finished by now.
I think we still not catch that joke there.
No, it's because we were invested in that conversation.
That's right, make an Olympia-based jokes, but
we'll just ignore it.
That's what it took sometimes.
Your time is up.
That's what it takes to go and follow your team, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you said to my mum I was going to Kilmarnock, I'd be no, you're not. No, with your cousin who's 14, you know what I mean? Like, I was just right, we're off, go.
Happy is life, could not be happier.
But that's what it's all about, mate. Yeah. That's why, like you say, it's just the love for the football.
You're following across the country.
Doesn't matter if you're high or low, you'll always follow your team.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, that's it. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously like you've not really got a worst away day as such. Then.
No,
well,
like
your worst match day experience.
Losing the finals is always going to be up there with the most heartbreaking moments. There's been away days where we've lost. Like I was at Aberdeen, you're sitting in the pissing rain, you lose 3-0, you're questioning why am I there? Wasn't it well you go away to stupid places and you lose and you're sitting going away to Queen of the South and you lose, or away to Dumfries or whatever, same place, but you know what I mean, and you lose and you're sitting going, that was pointless.
It's a long journey home.
Yeah, you spend 4 hours on the bus
and you don't even
all
want to
this
steam
money.
it either. You're just
on the way home you just want to go to your bed.
Yeah.
You've spent all that money and time going somewhere and you lose and you're just like, why?
Yeah, and then you'll go and do it again.
You do it again. Exactly, that's it. You get back up and you do it again next week and just keep on doing it because you can't stop. That's, you know what I mean? Well, you can't now with COVID, but
So I mean, obviously, we'd mentioned your favourite match day experience. That was in 2010. We've obviously went to the low of your worst match day experience. Well, I mean, I know that was a away day, obviously in 2010 for you. But was there another away day in particular that you thought, oh, this is exceptional?
Well, I've been to. It doesn't even really count, but I've been to Leeds away in friendlies, and just the day of it.
That's fine.
We lost 2-0, whatever. The game was pretty average, but just the experience of going away to Leeds for a match as an away day, you know what I mean?
Good day out.
Ellen Road and that as well.
That's what I'm saying. It's a good day out. It's something different, you know what I mean?
I've said this before on here. I met your cousin Rory. He says the best away day he's ever had as a Dundee fan was when he went to Sproney's testimonial in Crystal Palace. So if it's a pre-season friendly, you just had a good day out. It's amazing.
So that was a great day. And I've been to about 30 of the 42 grounds or whatever in Scotland on away days. Some of them have been amazing, like Stranraer away. What was literally.
Well, that's your best away day, is it?
One of them for experiences.
Is that when you had all the flares and stuff?
Yeah, that's what
I remember that game.
As a day,
like the whole day.
As a whole day. That was an exceptional day. Just the atmosphere, the going down there, it's a long journey, you know what I mean? Getting pushed with your mates.
Good day out.
1-1 draw.
Yeah.
3-0. But it's always better when you win. It's enhanced. Even though it was Stranraer away, you know what I mean? You win,
it's just the banter and that you're having.
It's a bit of an obscure ground you didn't get to go to.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's the way days like that I always look forward to as well, until you go to the championship and get it every week. You don't know what I'm going anymore.
I'm getting a bit sick of grounds I've never been to before. It means we're not at a high level.
I know the field now.
So we've gone for United, and like we did with Sam, we thought we're doing 2 United podcasts quite close together.
Nice.
So let's spice them up a wee bit. We talked a little bit about Manchester United with Sam. A few people are wondering why I'm wearing a Stoke City top back to front here.
Good old
Chico.
Charlie.
Yeah. This, of course, is yours top.
Yes.
Out of all the teams in English football, Stoke City are the one that you've gained an affection for.
Yes.
Why? How did that come to pass?
Well, it started around 2007 due to Football Manager. I got bored of my usual stuff and had to pick a team for me, and it was Stoke City that was still in the Championship or First Division, whatever it was back then.
Yeah.
So I ended up playing as them, quite enjoyed it, and then I went down to Alton Towers on a holiday in Stoke, went to a game, and just after that, I don't actually remember the game, but at the time they had Ricardo Fuller up front.
Hearts legend.
You know,
Hearts,
players like that. So I knew them from Football Manager, which also helped. So when I went to the game, I knew the players, you know what I mean? So I had a sort of an association with them. And then after that, I just sort of following the scores. Every week I'd see, they've won, and they got promoted that season. They finished runners up in the Championship and got promoted. And then after that, when they started staying up, and Aberdeen sitting going, who's your English team? I was like, Stoke. It's one of these things you don't actually realise it, but every single Saturday you check the score to see if they've won. You know what I mean? After a while, I went, yes, they won again. And I just sort of kept going and kept going.
Keeping an eye on them.
You know what I mean? So it's just one of these things that's sort of snowballed for there, and then started buying the tops. Don't have to get a Dundee boy on it.
Loves a long throw. Does Craig.
Do love a
Good
long
old
throw.
road, no need to lap.
And I missed
That
those.
was some weapon, that though, isn't it?
Those days were hilarious because it was literally. I remember the game. I was watching Stoke, and there was a Stoke player was closing down an opposition defender in the corner, and literally rather than punt the ball out for a throw in, the defender turns around and punts it out.
I remember that. I kicked it for the corner.
Kick it for a
It
corner.
makes sense to be fair.
Because screw facing the that
exactly.
throw if you can avoid it.
That was ridiculous how long that throw
Then you
was.
had at the time, at one point, you had Shawcross, Robert Huth, and Peter Crouch in the same team
Come on.
for a long throw.
Just cheat.
Don't want to be telling that.
It's a cheat code, isn't it?
Nobody wants that.
But no, it's just sort of had an association with them. It just kind of snowballed for there. Just one of these things. I never had. I watch English football on TV all the time, but I never had a team. You know what I mean? And then that just sort of that's who I liked the most, and I just sort of grew from there.
That was it. I think it's quite a natural thing. in Scotland to like have like a soft spot for an English team because you can't escape the coverage up here. Eh? Like obviously we've all got Scottish teams and that, and we follow them week in week out. But I mean, what happens when you come home? Match of the day is always on before sports scene, for example. Like it's impossible to. But every time you watch on Sky Sports News, there's not like a Scottish sports news channel, so you're always going to get that before the Scottish football. So it's natural that you end up. I quite fancy them. But like I said, most people will go for like a Liverpool, a Man United, a Chelsea, a Man City, whatever. Stoke City. And like I said, it confirmed it. Confirmed it for you, justified it almost when a local boy went and signed for them.
Well, that's why I got it. I was like, I bought a kit the year before just to have
I remember,
a Stoke kit.
Yeah.
And then Adam signed the next season, and I thought, I can't no get a Dundee boy on the back of the top. You know what I mean? Scottish player from Dundee is like
Derry boy. That's it.
Well, there's that as well, but the fact that he's Dundee, I call that, but he was also a very good player. You know what I mean? Like, he'd been at Liverpool at that point before he came to Stoke. You know what I mean? He was a very good player, so it made sense.
Yeah, that's good though, mate. That's good. So I mean, obviously you'd said that you went down to Alton Towers and you went to the game.
Do you remember who you played?
Who did you
No,
play?
like honestly, I don't. I was the last season in the Championship. I'm pretty sure either that or the first season in the Premier League. It was looking back at the years. It was either 07, 08 sort of time. But it was just one of these things. Turn up on a Saturday and lucky we got tickets. You know what I mean? There was that way of sell out. It wouldn't have been like a Liverpool Man U game. It would have been West Brom or you know what I mean? It wasn't a big game, so that probably wasn't so memorable. But I remember the players like Shawcross was coming to the team at the time, Ricardo Full was up front, Glenn Whelan in the midfield.
Aye.
You know,
Another Hearts legend.
Richie Delat was the right back. You know, like I remember a few of the players.
Aye.
Premier League winner.
So,
enough.
like I remember a few of the players from the time, and it's just sort of association. Like I remember being there, like, but I just don't remember the actual game itself.
Nice ground in that, is it? Britannia.
It's alright. It's
Bet365 Stadium.
Is that what it is now? Is it?
Yeah.
It's better
Get a sponsorship price. Other betting apps are available.
Not this again.
Sponsorship also.
Aye, exactly. We're here.
All those sponsorship opportunities are available.
But no, it's your classic British ground. It's 4 stands. You know what I mean? It's none of this sort of like big domes or new builds that have now.
That old.
It's the old sort of style football ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's I think I like Scottish football, the lower leagues. It's proper football.
Proper Brexit football at Stoke.
Brexit means Brexit.
Brexit means Shawcross.
You asked for it.
When I say I deliver, I fucking deliver.
I think we could take a break.
Yeah, man, we could do a cut. So we're back after an extended drinks break, just for refreshments. You know, you got to keep hydrated during this thing. You know,
You're teaching backwards now.
I know. Safety first. Safety first. So Craig,
sponsorship available.
Should have taped up.
I know. Like I said, if you want to, the opportunity is there. Have a bang on that. Right.
Stop that.
We've been through your highs and lows with Dundee United and Stoke City. Craig, give us your ultimate Club 11.
Club 11.
Yeah.
Wow. That is quite difficult, being Stoke in the Premier League. Could be better players. But
well, this is it. We gave Sam the option as well to include his Manchester United boys, but you went with United. But if you want to throw in a couple of Stoke boys in there, it's up to you. It's your team.
United is my heart, so I'll go with United for the most part, but I'll throw in a few Stoke substitutes, shall we say.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh,
I like
bench.
that. I like
We
that.
bench.
Yeah, that's clever.
Yeah.
We bet.
A wee bit.
Just been sitting making notes on all the players as well.
I like
Just
this. A man that comes prepared.
Right, guys. Please observe this notebook.
Look at that.
That's what we want in a guest.
Yeah. Commitment.
Yes. Commitment.
Also, somebody paying attention, I went for the 4-2-3-1.
Oh, the perfect
balance.
Yes, Craig.
And who's the only
I've
person?
watched, I've took notes, and used a 4-2-3-1.
And who's the only person that's not?
Fucking two.
Who's the only person that's not picked a 4-2-3-1 yet?
Me.
You, yeah.
What are you looking over there?
I know. Anyway,
Part of the suspense here.
who's in goal?
I could go for some classics like Derek Stilley.
Oh, now we're talking.
What about Tony Bullock?
Tony Bullock.
Nick Colgan.
Or Lewis Wick, the German amateur that I don't know how he came to the club. But similar to before, I've got to go for Dusan.
You sure? Is it not Szczesniak that you mean?
No, it is.
Sorry, I know this is your team, Craig. Please carry on.
But Dusan was just, he's one of these keepers that United probably had many years ago, my dad's era. But growing up, we had like Paul Gallagher in goal, who was consistent but never great. Same with like Alan Coombe, players like that.
Stilly.
Derek Stilly was in the team for a long time, but they were never great goalkeepers. Whereas when Dusan came in after the likes of Zaluska, who again was a great keeper but was a very short period of time. Same with the Monk, but 6 months, great keeper.
Sam Tolsky.
Yeah.
For you back home.
But then Dusan was one of these keepers that you knew he was never going to make a mistake. He was a commanding goalkeeper.
Safe pair of hands,
Yeah, you can trust him
a
in goal.
cup-winning goalkeeper as well,
Yeah,
so
you
that's
can
a lot to be said for that.
He was one of these players who never turned up to a game thinking, oh, what's going to happen today?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he was going to get beat, he was going to get beat by a good goal.
Exactly. If we're going to lose goals, it's not going to be from a mistake.
Whereas like Rado had the occasional bobble under the legs against Dundee, for example. Like,
well, I mean, he thought he were going to win the treble.
Yeah, Rado was very eccentric as well. He was quite eccentric goalkeeper. He was a good shot stopper and stuff like that. But when it came to
I hate that cliche though, Craig. The goalkeeper, good shot stopper.
No,
it's his job.
Exactly.
It's his job.
It's his job. He's paid to do that. I'm a good shot stopper. I'm not a professional.
But goalkeepers are also paid to come for crosses, which Rado, Scotch got failed in 2014. He didn't do. He came for a cross, ended up on his arse and was lost the goal. You know what I mean? So for stuff like that, Dusan was a more solid, reliable keeper.
You're right though. Some goalkeepers are allergic to coming up for 6 yard box.
Like coming for crosses and that. Yeah.
I thought Benji very recently, I think he's one of the best goalkeepers we've had in about the past decade as well. When he first came to the club, I was quite critical of him.
Really? Right, okay.
Yeah, he was the first year or two. I was kind of like, I don't really trust him that much, but he's grown on me more. Going back through old Twitter memories, you can see I was not a hater, but he wasn't his biggest fan. I've apologised.
See, that's interesting because when I picked Foster in my Celtic team, but see, the first season he was on loan from Newcastle, I wasn't like completely sold on him. It wasn't until he ended up coming back on loan the second year that I was like, okay, this guy's the boy. He's a fantastic player. And then the third season, the boy, and then we ended up signing him permanently after the really good season. But like, it just shows you how your opinion can change of a player.
I think Benji's first year, he was quite prone to trying to punch the ball and missed a couple of times, and when that happens, you don't trust the balls in the box, especially when you don't have two commanding centre halves.
Because if you just catch it, then
when you had Mark Dunnan and Cole Dawson at centre half, you need a good goalkeeper to come claim crosses behind them, which he didn't do. He panicked about.
But you never had that problem with Dusan. You just
Dusan was.
Deal with it.
He also had the good defenders in front of him, which we'll get to, but he was a reliable, solid goalkeeper. That's just all I remember. Plus.
And like I said, a lot to be said about winning a trophy for Dundee United.
Coming third and stuff as well.
Like you say, with that Dusan, I just remember him being like quite slow. I don't know what it was about him. He was older when he joined United, wasn't he? He was like maybe in his 30s or whatever.
I think he was late 20s or so, coming into his 30s.
Because I just remember him being like quite slow, but I know what you mean.
He wasn't exactly a sweeper keeper. But he was a...
Like, he doesn't obviously want to be playing with his feet and that, but like, I mean, like, as a general solid goalkeeper, like, he would do it, you know what I mean? Which is that's what I said on a previous podcast, is what you're expected to do as a keeper anyway, is to keep the ball out of the net, and that's what he's done, so fair play, so no, I understand that.
Right back, I have not went for Sean Dillon on my team. As nice a guy he is, sold me Herbalife.
Centre half.
He sold you Herbalife?
He did.
Sold you seen you coming, didn't he?
Yeah. Ronaldo does it, and so does Sean Dillon.
But no, for right back I've gone Keith Watson.
Keith. He was so injury prone.
He was injury prone.
Bought me a drink on the night out though, so good guy.
He was actually set to make his debut as a 16-year-old against Celtic and done his knee for the first time in the warm-up.
16?
16 he was meant to make his debut against Celtic at Tapedeck, an injury cell in the warm-up.
That's horrible.
And Craig Levine said years later after he left United that Keith Watson was the most naturally talented fullback he'd seen.
Wow.
Like, as a 16-year-old coming through.
Yeah.
And then when he did play, he was injured. He wasn't as quick as he probably could be after the injury and that, but he was a solid right back. He scored goals, Rangers.
He scored a few big goals, didn't he?
He scored that absolute pile driver against Rangers to win 2-1 at Tapedeck as well. Scored in Europe, a couple of belters of a goal as well. He always popped up with odd goals, scored at Dens, Motherwell, you know, just...
He was a good solid player,
he was
not just
a weird
United.
Player. He was a very good defender that popped up with an odd goal, and he was always reliable. He was never going to get beat to the byline every week. He was never going to get rolled over by a fullback, a winger even, or whatever. You know what I mean? He he was that guy at right back. You know
Even
what
when
I
he went to, I think
Reliable.
he went to Saints after United, didn't he? And he was like,
Yeah.
he's a solid
He's
player.
at
in the
Ross
league.
County now. He's moving
County
to
now.
centre half.
So he's been a solid player in the SPL.
playing?
Yeah.
He's a centre half.
He's
for
been a
Ross
solid.
County.
didn't realise that,
He's
right.
been a solid player in the SPL for a long
He
time.
won the
so,
championship with Ross County as a centre half.
Ah, right.
His legs are gone, so he's not quite a fullback anymore.
He's just.
But he was
right,
always
reads the
he was
game.
always up and down the right.
Oh,
Like I
good.
say, he's never the quickest, but
Good player, Keith Watson.
Yeah.
For like I said, for a solid player in Scottish football for a long time. So
Yeah.
and bought me a pint.
He's writing that all about 11
Cheers,
minutes.
Keith.
Thank you, Nori.
right, centre half.
No room for Sean Dillon at centre half.
No.
Oh,
As great of a servant he was to the club, as a pure footballer,
cutting me deep. But I'm not even the United fan.
that's just going to give you a medal.
You did do that, yeah.
But
Is
as
it a pint now?
Nah,
So he's no end.
on foot, as a servant, yeah, on football and ability, no. The longer he became, the more like not a bomb scare, but he was just never. I never seen him as a reliable player. You know, he was always just in the team. You know what I mean? I never got excited to see his name on team sheet. I was more scared than anything else by near the end. You know what I mean? But so I've actually went for Andy Webster.
just like Sam, yeah.
Yeah, like
Again,
Sam.
well, again, I
Like
get
I'm
that.
saying, he was
Scottish
there-
Cup winning captain. So
He was there
again,
for one season, but
yeah.
Hearts legend, eh?
Yeah.
I've never actually had a centre
Well,
half
again-
that you've just felt so comfortable with. You know what I mean? Like United have went through loads of centre halves. Like David McCracken was always when I was growing up younger. Chris Innes. They've never been an outstanding centre half. They were good without being great. And Andy Webster came in, he was just great. You know what I mean? Ball at the feet, ball in the air, doesn't matter. You felt
Just a good player.
You felt safe with him at the back. You know what I mean?
Brilliant bit of business getting him on, was it on loan from Rangers
Yeah.
at the time.
Like
Yeah.
there's centre halves that you like saying that are good, but they're never great. Andy Webster's came in, he was just a step over.
Yeah.
As he brought that team.
He was in it at
high
Arsenal,
level.
wasn't he? I'm sure he got a few caps for Scotland.
I think so,
I
yeah. At the time, yeah.
He was.
think when he was at Hearts, he got a few caps.
Aye.
He was always a good player.
He is a good player, yeah.
So we've got to have him in the team, like saying Scottish Cup winning captain. Then there's a few other players that I thought about, like Gary Kenneth, just again servant for the club. He's also
Big United fan
Big-
as well,
big
so
one,
it's
big
like
one.
one of your own.
Herbalife,
One of your
isn't
own.
aye, but similar to you, I went for Lee Wilkie.
Lee Walker, yeah.
He's a good player, isn't
He was like you said, he might have his best days at Dundee. Still had a load of games for United. Again, solid at the back.
He was never the player he was
Played for
when
the-
he
no.
left Dundee. though.
Played for the shirt when he was at United though.
Like you said,
did.
he's a United
Never the
fan as
player
well.
When he was at Dundee, he was
Aye,
he
I've
was
got
fine.
I've got a load of names listed here, like Foyut, like Sam said as well. Again, that one season he was outstanding, and his goal celebration was scary. Right, anytime he scored, you got terrified. That header against Dundee as well in the last minute of the cup game.
Can't remember that. That's been erased.
Oh, was it? Well, that's ingrained in my
Remind
mind.
him.
But I'm glad it's ingrained in someone.
He was an outstanding player as well, but Lee Walkie, even though he was past it, there's sometimes, even with the ball at his feet, Lee Walkie was good. Like,
He's a good.
He
That's
never-
what I was saying here in my podcast as well. Is he was able to play as well for being a big guy. He
for
was
somebody's
able to
size,
just
didn't
drive
expect
out
him.
and that
Like, I
as well.
remember, I can't mind who it was against Celtic, I can't mind what player it was. The striker came and closed him down, and he literally just Cruyff turned him and walked away.
Aye,
and you're saying, "God, it's Lee
But
Walkie.
you would
What's he
think
doing
that,
that
he's
for?"
like 6'6" or something.
Aye,
He's
and he just
pure
Cruyff
massive
turned the boy and walked
Probably
away.
would have
from
been
him.
like maybe like a McDonald or a Vinegar or Hesslick around about that
Possibly,
time.
yeah.
That's when Wilkie was
But
playing for
then,
United.
see when you've got his boy at the back that can do that with his feet, win every ball in the air and just be so composed and
Yeah.
commanding at the back.
That's
It's
what you
kinda-
want in a
calm
centre
everyone
back,
down,
though,
calm
isn't it?
everyone down.
That's what you want in a centre
That's the
back.
same Andy Webster.
Yeah.
That's, if you're
Just a
looking for
calming influence that can
stereotypical,
play.
you want a centre half.
But
That's
when he needs to be aggressive, he can
yeah. So when I was thinking about this, I was thinking, who would I have at the centre back position? Like, if I was to pick a team, who I'd want, not who I liked the most or anything like that. Like I say, I liked Foyut or whatever. I'd want Wilkie and Webster on the team.
be. Yeah.
Or
And he was club captain at the time when you won the cup
To
as
be
well.
fair,
So he didn't play
yeah,
in the final, but
yeah,
he was
injured.
He was in. I think he got injured halfway through that season, didn't he? And
Yeah.
put him out for the rest of the
Then we
season.
had Kenneth and Webster at the
Yeah.
back. I don't think Kenneth would have been as good if Webster wasn't next to him either.
Aye.
He just
He was
elevated
like
Kenneth's
Kenneth's like the A, and Kenneth's Webster's the A, and Kenneth's the B side. Kenneth's the one who's getting talked through the game by
Yeah.
Webster.
Yeah, he brought
So
his
he's
level
better
up.
because Webster's there.
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah.
Speaking them through the game.
Aye,
Yeah.
exactly.
But that's saying, that's a solid pairing. If
Yeah.
the both of them were around at the same time, then that's like.
Well, that's the year we won the cup as well.
Yeah.
Came
Yeah.
fourth in the league.
Well, they would.
If they two were fit and healthy
Aye.
for a couple of years United, I think we could have.
Aye.
Well, that was
done
it.
a
If
lot more
Wilkie
as
was
well.
fit that whole season, it would be Wilkie and Webster rather than Webster and
I
Kenneth.
mean, that's
Yeah.
a strong partnership. Yeah.
Like I went on pure who would I want playing defence for me.
Fair dues, mate. Yeah.
And then left back, I've thought about Paul Dixon, same as you, but I think Paul Dixon was tarnished by second spell for me. Like when we signed him, I thought yes, Paul Dixon. Then you seen him play and you thought that's no Paul Dixon. It is Paul Dixon, but it's no the player he expected to play.
Yeah.
Also, he's a bit more defensive. Been down in England, his legs were gone a bit.
He was older when he came back, wasn't he?
Barry Douglas, another very, very good left back. He's went on to do great
He's
things.
done really well, hasn't
He went abroad to Poland and Turkey and that as well.
Like Poznan he went to, wasn't it? Did he go to Turkey as well?
I think he went to Turkey after that. And
Yeah,
then
he was at Leeds, wasn't he?
He was at Leeds, Wolves, Blackburn. You know, he's doing well down there.
Right.
But again, I think I've got to go for Robertson.
Has to be.
Like just on pure again, who would I want on my team?
Quality player.
Like I'd want Andrew Robertson. I've got other people here like Connor Townsend played for 6 months for us, who's now playing in the Premier League for West Brom. He was a great player for 6 months for us, but nobody remembers him. Or Morris Malpass. Technically, I can put him in because I've seen him play, but he doesn't stand out. You know what I mean? Like I was thinking, like Sam was saying, I want to go for somebody that I've seen play and I remember.
That's what I'm saying. It's like me just naming like the '60s Dundee. Like it's like you with the '80s. You know.
Like
what
I'm
I mean?
saying that, like I said earlier in the podcast, like my first game I remember was Billy Dawes' debut. Morris Malpass started the centre half that game, so I did see him play for a number of years, like towards the end of his career. But he doesn't.
A wee boy.
Yeah, he doesn't stick out in my memory as.
Whereas you can remember that Robertson season perfectly.
Yeah, like
exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's
So
more recent. Yeah.
Recency bias is a big thing. So I could go, Malpass was one of the best players for United. He's the all-time caps for United. You know what I mean? Like appearances, but he doesn't stick out in my memory. So I've got to go for Robertson purely just for.
Can't argue with that, mate. Yeah.
That one season was just unbelievable. Possibly he's went on to do.
So moving into the midfield,
who will you sitting?
Well, we do have a boy in centre mid.
A boy in centre mid.
Yeah. You've complete the song, Jimmy Gomez.
No, another one.
We have a boy in centre mid, Gomez.
I'm not a United fan.
Doesn't matter. He says that.
He hates
he's
he hates Dundee.
He hates the day he loves the shed.
But no. What a player.
Came along from Cowden Beef, we'll not sing the rest.
But what a player he was. He was just non-stop all over the field. He can break the play down, tackles, nibble into people's feet. Never gave players a minute. And then when he was on the ball, he can do anything with it apart from shoot.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't shoot.
He was the Neil Lennon of Dundee United.
Yeah, he was. For somebody his size.
Moving on.
Like you said before, like Scanty, for somebody his size, he gets about, he wins the ball, he gets the foot in.
Yeah.
Then when he gets the ball, he can play a pass, he can run with it, he can do anything. You know
He's
what I
that
mean?
ultimate boy just to have like sit in midfield and
Yeah,
he'll do all
the game.
He'll do all the dirty
yeah.
work and he'll let the boys that can play football play football.
Yeah.
And
Like-
you say, don't worry boys, you go and do your thing. I'll
You
do all
need
the
those
stuff
boys
that
in
needs
the
done.
team,
Yeah,
yeah.
you do.
Yeah, like Will Flood was a very similar player with a lot less ability.
Yeah.
Like he done the same job as Gomez over 4 spells, but he wouldn't get him a team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we mentioned Charlie Miller before. That was an early memory for me. As good of a player he was, it's just not Jimmy Gomez
Yeah.
for me. You know what I mean? That's just the sort of boy I've got stuck. Like I said, I've got a load of names written down. Craig Easton, David Hanna. They were big players when I was a kid, but they weren't the same ability.
Yeah.
And again,
one of the same.
Gomez was a cup winner as well, so that's obviously going to go in his favour.
And then next to him, I've actually put Barry Robson.
Fair, mate.
He played more left wing for us, but more in his career he went more to centre mid.
You can shove him in the middle,
And
no bother.
He
going
can play anyway.
by the rest of the players I've got on my team, I needed to put him in somewhere. He couldn't not be in my team.
Yeah.
Like he was the sort of player, like we said, he stopped us getting relegated by scoring Inverness. You can always rely on him. Like you said, he was technically a
Very
brilliant
good player.
Big game player as well.
Yeah,
Barry Robson.
technically, we got him from Inverness, I think, for I don't know if it's free or minimal fee or whatever.
Peanuts or
But
something. Yeah.
he was
outstanding
player.
at Inverness as well, eh? And then before he went to United, like I remember him being like, you know what I mean? If there was a goal scorer, it'd normally be Barry Robson.
Yeah, from the left wing, which is
Yeah, you know what I mean? And then all of a
when
sudden
we
he went to
got him,
United and it was
I was one of these things like he's a big player for Inverness, and then we signed him. We're sitting going, I can't. He was only playing Inverness, but how have we signed him? Like he was not a big name signing, but at the same time you're sitting going, he's a very good player.
Yeah, he's a good player.
He's getting to us, then he proved it. Then went on and done it at Celtic, Aberdeen. You know what I mean? Like, but I had to get him in my team somehow, so I put him in centre mid alongside Gomez. Right wing, I've had to go for Craig Conway.
Ross Brimley.
On the right, not on the left.
On the right.
Even though he played on the left more.
Yeah, he
Shoot
played
on
on the
the
left more, but for the right wing.
This is coming from the guy that put Scott Sinclair at number 10, but hey,
Yeah, I know. Just
But I know you could do the inverted winger as he was.
on
But,
support.
he's more of attacking, but we go. But like I said, Conway, 2 goals in the Scottish Cup final.
Oh yeah.
Obviously sticks out. Just this young boy from Ayr that you never heard of. And he turned up one day and was rapid. And that was all he was. He just ran up and down non-stop. And then by the end of
He
it,
just worked hard.
he was
didn't
one of the best players in the team. Free kicks, crosses, goals. He done everything from the left wing, right wing.
yeah.
He interchanged some games, you know what I mean? If he couldn't get past the right back, he'd move over and get past the left back. He could do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, he's proved that he's been at Blackburn, Burnley, Cardiff. He's at St Johnstone now.
Yeah,
And
he's,
he's
yeah,
twilight
so
his career.
he's still doing it in the SPL.
He's still doing
so,
it.
yeah.
He's still decent, yeah.
Even now you see him, he's popping up with crosses and his legs are gone, but he's still.
See, that's mad to think that
quality's
like
there,
11 years after like his best moment, he's still doing it at like
still
the same level.
decent,
So,
yeah.
and he's been to a higher level and
So
then
it
come back and
shows-
still doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he won a cup this year with St Johnstone, didn't he? So,
Yeah,
so
so-
Oh, exactly, mate. Yeah.
Double cup winner in Scotland.
And our
right?
favourite on the podcast, Sean Rooney, with the winner. Bullet header.
But aye, so Conway he had to be in the team.
yeah,
And then
definitely.
left wing, I went for GMS.
Yeah, you couldn't not put GM.
I could
you,
not put
You
him in.
loved him.
I loved him.
obviously grew up with you. You loved Gary Mackay-Steven.
Oh,
Well, he was on skill school every
Every time I would go,
weekend or
every
something,
time I would go
was
to
he?
Craig's house, like during the week or early the weekend, but right, let's watch Gary Mackay-Stevens like scout the weekend. Go to the park, trying to practice. Let's do the gas.
doing skills.
Right, no, not me. I'm going to the gas getaway.
But he was one of these.
Yeah, do you remember that? Was that like when he like just like did some
Dave-
random
Dave
kitty ups
Mackay.
at
He done
Command?
Dave Mackay. He done-
Let's do the gas getaway. Jesus Christ.
Like a bad like movie made by British.
But no, it was. I'm pretty sure it was against Dave Mackay. Was at St Johnstone. He done that kind of wee.
I thought it was
What?
Kilmarnock, was it?
No,
was it Saints,
that was the
it?
dribble.
Oh, okay.
That
Was
was one
that
where
like the one like
he
behind
caught-
him though?
The-
Behind him and he was like...
Yeah, but he put it behind
Yeah.
him and still flicked it. And
Yeah.
Dave Mackay was nowhere to be seen. But the Kilmarnock one was where he caught it on his foot, flicked it over his head and the boy's head, dribbled it on his head, then
I
skinned another boy.
remember,
They got
yeah.
taken out. But like you're saying with Reg Foot Manager, if you had that, his flair would be 20. But he's one of these players that he can do something out of nothing.
Yeah.
It was literal.
It was just exciting to
Yeah,
watch.
exciting.
It was
when he got the
exciting.
ball.
He can do.
It's like you would
That's what
Caballero,
was similar
gets
like
the ball,
Caballero
you get
Rojo
excited.
and that. Like
Yeah.
as soon as they got
Like
the ball, you're like,
something's
gonna happen.
like
Something-
something, yeah.
A lot of people are saying, I've seen it like on Twitter, like from New York and whatever, and people at Hearts saying, "Oh, he looks lazy." Like, that's the way he's always played. Like 5 minutes into the game, he looks knackered, but when he gets the ball at his feet, he's off.
Just you wait.
You know what I mean? He's not got the highest work rate in coming back to defend or anything like that. But when he's got the ball at his feet, it's just anything.
It's like
can happen.
Sam was talking earlier in his the other week in his Man United podcast about Berbatov. Maybe he's more of that luxury player, but when he does get on the ball, you know something's going to happen.
I mean, I understand where Craig's coming from. When he was at United, that was his like prime years.
He's his peak.
That was his peak. So I mean, I obviously I watch a lot of the Championship games, as we know, right? So obviously I see a lot of Hearts and that, and
How's he been since he's gone there?
he's terrible.
Really, is he just no?
Well, from what I've seen anyway, he's not a shadow of the player he was when he was at
No.
United.
I think we got his best years, but like I'm saying, he was just.
Celtic-
Well,
Celtic-
again, he's been at the...
Celtic got a couple of good years out of him as well, but you're right. He was definitely at his peak when he was
He's
at
been
United.
at
I mean, I don't know.
America
I
and
don't
that
know.
as well now. And
I don't know what he was like when he was at New York.
I mean, American league's obviously probably a lot slower, I imagine.
Yeah, but I've seen a
You
few
know.
people like when he left New York. Like I'm on Twitter and whatever and follow football there, and a lot of them were saying, "Oh, like we don't even need him. He looked lazy." But that's the way he played. He played with his head bobbing.
Which I
about
thought
like
was
he
quite a good
knackered,
signing for
but
Hearts when they picked him up, but
when he gets the ball at his feet,
But you
he's a
see,
different
like when he was at United, I just remember him being like energetic. Though.
Yeah.
Not
Like, when
lazy.
he's
I remember him
going
just
forward.
being direct.
Yeah, he's direct and
But like
forward. But
when I watch
coming-
him now, he's not like that.
no, like, I think he's lost a bit of the spark. Ken,
You know what I mean?
He's
Like
got-
like you say, it's the flair.
yeah,
What you get from him, you get the unexpected. That's what you think of JMS. You think like he'll do something,
Yeah, and
but
that-
he doesn't.
that
you know,
season
it's-
where we scored like four goals in a game, like 8 games in a row or something. Every single week, GMS was getting a couple of assists, doing
Yeah.
something. He had full backs in his back pocket every
On
week.
toast, yeah.
You know what I mean? That people didn't want to go up against him because they knew, but he's an
'cause you'll
informed player.
be direct on
See,
yeah.
if United were having a bad game, he'd be the first one hooked after an hour because he wasn't doing nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's that sort of player.
Just a hit and miss kind of.
Yeah, if Gary
when
Mackay
he's a
Stevens,
hit, he's a-
but if he's a hit, then the whole team's sort of
Yeah.
up. Or if the whole team's up, he kind of goes, "Oh, I've
It's
just
like if he plays
he's the
well,
ball.
Yeah,
if he plays well, you're going to get a couple of goals.
Like
Yeah.
If he doesn't play well, then
if
he's a
he's
waste.
in the mood in that, then
And
you
if he's
know
not,
it's going to be
and
a
if
good
he's
game.
not, if he's not in the mood, it's a waste of time.
Aye,
on the
exactly.
park.
Yeah, he's that sort of
Yeah.
player. Like if we are needing to defend a lot, you want to get back and
No.
try and stop a cross or help the fullback. He just kind of sits and waits for the ball.
Because the thing is, as well, if I'm right, I think he was at Liverpool in his
Yeah, he was
youth
youth
career,
team.
wasn't he?
Yeah.
So, like, obviously, if he was at Liverpool in his youth
Yeah,
career,
he's
he
got
must
something
obviously
about-
have
Do you
something.
know,
yeah.
well, you
Somebody-
say that John
but-
Rankin was at Man United for youth career. So was Sean
Well, I mean,
Dillon.
what-
Do you
the
know
stigma.
where he's from?
Uh,
Mackay Stevens.
Thurso.
He's from Thurso. So
Is he?
obviously, so a guy who used to play for our football team, Adam. He teaches up in Thurso High School now.
Yeah,
And they've got like a shrine to Gary Mackay Stevens in the
Shut
school because like he's
Jesus.
donated like a lot of his shirts to the school.
Have they done
'Cause he went there.
Have they done a hair transplant for him?
So they've got like I think they've got like a United shirt, a Celtic shirt, and like a Scotland shirt and all that.
Fair play on
yeah.
him, though. That's quite good.
Aye.
So they're probably like Aberdeen shirts
What
and
a
that since
shrine.
then.
Yeah.
But here, like I mean,
That's not.
it's
There's
a-
not many people.
it's
up
a
there,
small
do
place, so you
Aye.
know.
Sorry, guys, if you're from Thurso and you're watching,
Yeah.
so you're like, Mark, shut up. Anyway,
Did
sorry.
it have internet in Thurso?
Maybe not.
Sorry.
I have you know that Adam listens to this podcast every week. He's like one of our
He
best
only
viewers.
catches the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Did the dial-up tone comes up?
He's getting hate mail now from Thursday.
I know, yeah.
Fuck Thursday.
Adam's like, you fucking bastards.
So, I mean, that's your two wingers then, Craig.
Aye.
Who's in the hole there?
Well,
Free roll.
I've had to go for Armstrong.
Yeah.
I've had Danny Swanson, Ryan Gold, sort of like players that can play in there. But for what they've done at United and the player that I would want in there, it's got to be Armstrong.
Mhm.
Again, he was in that team where we were scoring 4 every week. He was direct. He was good on the ball.
Exciting to watch.
He was a
yeah.
hard worker as well. He done some
Yeah, yeah.
nitty gritty stuff again. But the Mackay Stephen wouldn't do. I think that's why it worked as well because you had either John Rankin or Armstrong would come
Walking.
across
Yeah,
and
yeah.
close down the boys that were coming from that side as well. Like I say, he's went on to Premier League.
That's one of the
different
beauties about Armstrong. Like you could put him anywhere and he would do a job.
Yeah.
Like you said, Sam mentioned it in his podcast. He played wide right for United.
Yeah, he was never a winger.
At Celtic, he played wide left, and then at both teams he excelled in the middle. But even when he's gone to Southampton, he's ended up on the wing again. But he knows himself that it's not his best position. But he's got on with it, and
Yeah,
more
he
often
never
than-
complains.
But more often than not, he plays every week, even though maybe it's not his best position.
You see, for me, right, Robert, I know we mentioned this in our very first pilot, but he's got to be a starter for me for Scotland.
Armstrong.
Yeah.
He's got to be. I mean, some of the players you have in there, you know what I mean, in the centre mid roles, he's performing at the highest level. He's playing there
You know
week
he's
in,
going to
week
work
out
very
for
hard for the
Southampton,
cause, eh?
and he works hard, but he's creative as well.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
as Craig said, he does the dirty work
He's got
as
a goal
well.
on him as well.
Yeah.
Like he'll work for the team, and that's what you need for Scotland because you've got boys like McGinn that'll do the same. Because McGinn's a hard worker, he'll bomb on, and that's what I
Yeah.
like about it. But Armstrong's prepared to get forward as well.
Yeah, he's a
And then
very
you could have that
calculated
one
player as well.
sitting there, you know what I mean? If you're playing the 4-2-3-1 or whatever, you'll always have that a couple of players sitting.
Hey, he would never
You know?
complain like if we made subbies or whatever and brought some younger boys on, he'd happy drop back into the centre
Exactly.
mid and sort of play that role and
Like he's a clever player.
yeah,
Team player.
and a Barnett is beautiful.
Exactly.
Craig knows the score.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's like there's other players like Danny Swanson, Ryan Gold, a lot of United fans.
Yeah,
I wasn't a
I've
big
got-
fan, you probably remember this, of Scott Fraser.
Mm.
I didn't rate technically good but a very lazy player.
Scott Fraser. Right?
I'd never really
Played with him at Lockheed Park a few times.
well, I've played with Craig White in at 5 sides.
I taught him all he knows.
Is that right?
My dad's bigger than your dad.
No, yeah.
No, so a lot of people rate him and I never did. And some United fans are like, but it's very 50-50 on him. But he wasn't a hard worker. He wasn't any, like Armstrong was the complete player in that position for me. You know what I mean? If like I'm saying, going on about 11 players,
Yeah.
Armstrong was the complete attacking midfielder
Yeah,
for me. Then moving on to striker.
Who's up front?
This
Big
is where,
call, this.
God, Craig's got about 20 strikers. Right.
See, this is where it gets interesting. I could go for Agent McIntyre, purely on
Return to base.
but
Get him out of there.
Literally like 2 weeks after Dundee got relegated, he's out of Tapedeck with a scarf.
I'm just quality. I've had like saying Billy Dodds again debut, but
Yeah.
I don't really remember them as much.
Yeah.
I've got like Russell, Goodwillie, John Daly, all players like that. But
What
I
you stuck
think-
on for John Daly then, like Sam?
I wanted to go for John Daly purely on thinking about it, but then I'm sitting thinking again more recency bias and purely on the player he was on his day is probably Shifty. Again, as one of these complete players that I'd want up
Shifty.
front. I know it might be a bit controversial.
No, I
granted,
like it though.
but again, it's just I don't know the player he was. Again, he could do something special at random moments.
Got
Like,
excited when he got the ball.
yeah, he was one of these players that you would go to watch on a Saturday. You know what I mean? Like if somebody goes, "Oh, John Dale's playing on Saturday," yeah, he might score a goal and he's good for you and scores 20 goals a season. Looking back on it, it's great. But see, at that time, growing up and whatever, you go and you see Shifty on the team sheet, you're like, yes, like
Bit of excitement
Yeah.
for you.
So remember in Sam's podcast when I was saying he wasn't always appreciated by United fans, you and Grant were two of them who were like, I used to say it to you all the time, mate, Daly, like you'll get you 10, 15 goals a season,
like
but you wanted more exciting players
Yeah,
playing for you,
like,
maybe
we've got-
than like
I've
he
got
was more
people-
functional than
Yeah.
maybe entertaining.
Yeah.
I've got people written down here like Noel Hunt, Fran Sandaza. You know, they were good players.
Sandazzled. You've been sandazzled.
Rangers legend.
Like they were, and Colin Samuel, Jason Scotland. You know, like back in the day when I was growing up, those were the players that I seen, and they were good players. But thinking back in the last like decade or so, the players that I wanted to go to games see was
Go and see
GMS,
Shifty, yeah.
was Shifty.
Aye.
Yeah.
The
That's
exciting
what
players.
That's
yeah.
what made me follow them home and away every
Yeah.
week. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to go to the games. It made
Yeah.
you
Because you
excited
don't know
to
what's
go.
going to,
Exactly.
what they're going to do.
Like you, like
He scored bucket loads of goals for
like I
United
was saying,
as well.
that we scored about 4 goals in 8 games in a row, something ridiculous like that with them
Yeah.
boys in the team. They were just exciting players that you wanted to go and
You
see
wanna
and
watch.
you wanted to watch. So for me, that's why he gets in the team ahead of the likes of Daly or Russell. Like Russell's went on to have a great career and he's a very good player. Goodwillie was very good at United. Went on to Blackburn, didn't really perform as well. Now bang them in for Clyde, but hey ho.
We'll not mention that.
There's a reason he's playing at all level.
Aye. I think he's found his level.
No,
finally.
purely on excitement and wanting to go to the games. It's got to be Shifty for me. And that goal at Ibrox. Is,
Celebrating before the ball went in.
that's just top level. It doesn't get much higher than that. But like you mentioned as well with the team, I noted a few Stoke players just in case.
Yeah, yeah. Who's your Stoke subs?
Unfortunately, Chupamoting is not a part of it.
Oh, what?
What a rise for that man, by the way.
He's got the best.
Jesus.
He's got the best agent.
Oh,
He does. First Stoke, he done nothing. They went to
I know.
PSG, now Bayern. Like, what's
He
happened?
scored in the Champions League. What's that all about?
I remember watching for Stoke and thinking, what's this?
Yeah,
What's he done?
To Stoke.
Yeah, it's
Stoke was it
hopeless.
Schalke to Stoke to
PSG.
PSG and then Bayern.
PSG signed him on a free and then to Bayern.
He keeps falling.
Like
he
you say, his agent must be on the
he
bloody
keeps
money.
falling upwards.
Aye, exactly. I didn't get the break here, so I've got a bigger team.
But obviously, it would have been too easy to put a lot of Stoke players in there,
Aye.
on pure ability wise.
Yeah.
So for like a goalkeeper, I've got Asmir Begovic,
Yeah, quality player.
who for Stoke again was great. Went on to Chelsea and whatever, and probably should have been a keeper for them for longer. But I remember watching them on TV or
Good keeper.
whatever.
Yeah.
He was a very good keeper. And I've mentioned before that, like with the long throws, you've got Delap, Robert Huth, or Ryan Shawcross. Again, if you think of a centre half, you think of like a Shawcross or a Huth, just no nonsense.
That Hoof was a monster.
Premier
wasn't he?
won the league at Leicester as well. Didn't
Aye.
he? Yeah. Went on to bigger and better
Him
things
and,
after
him
Stoke.
and Wes Morgan at
Aye,
centre
oh
half.
God,
eh?
aye. Phew, units.
He's the wee Wilkie of English football.
Efficient though, eh?
Yeah.
German
So
efficiency.
then, like we're saying, you can't mention Stoke without mentioning Rory Delap when he's long
aye.
throws. So it was their signature
That was
for a
the
very
weapon,
long
wasn't
time. Yeah.
Southampton.
And then you've got, like I was saying, the first match I remember going to, like Ricardo Fuller was playing up front for them, you know. So like the first few seasons, he was a big player for
Yeah,
them.
he was,
So
aye.
Ricardo Fuller is one of these players that stick in my mind for Stoke.
Yeah.
And then, well, I didn't actually realise how long it was until I looked back on it. But Peter Crouch was at Stoke for 4 or 5 years almost.
No, it was longer than that. It was like seven years.
Like,
it was the
he was
longest
there
he was
for-
ever at a team.
Yeah.
That was one of Crouch's things. He would be at a team for a couple of years and then move on. But he was at Crouch for like he was at Stoke for like 7 years.
Did you see him on Sky Sports about the stats? He's one of the 5 English players to score home and away in a Champions League quarter final.
Really?
For Tottenham.
There you
scored
go.
home and away in a Champions League quarter final. Peter Crouch. He didn't even know his own stat. The list of 4 players went, who's the other player?
He's a
I'll tell you what though, right? You see, again, for a big guy, he was good with his feet. And I thought he was quite good with his feet.
That volley against Man City.
Yeah, he's
well.
technically decent.
He's probably a player
I don't think he was as bad as what people made out.
No, he's definitely a player that history will be kind to. Because he is that, like, he's the stereotypical, oh, he's got a good touch for a big man, blah, blah, blah. But
it's true, though.
He scored goals at the top level
but
for
his
years.
touch was good.
He played in the Champions League final for Liverpool and all that. He played for England for, like, quite a while. Played in the Premier League for, like, 15-odd years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So him, and then, obviously, Cannon up, mentioned Charlie Allen, Dundee boy,
Oh.
the kit, you know. Like,
You need to get that Dundee man in there, do
you do. Like, didn't like him now, obviously. But as a player, like, I got excited when he was at Stoke, you know what I mean? Like, coming from Liverpool and that, again, very technically gifted player.
And then a boy from Dundee playing for your
which
team
is
that
also
follow.
you never really expect, you know what I mean? Like, just one of these things, hometown sort of boy playing for an English team that nobody thinks who's a Stoke fan, you know what I mean?
Because it's like, despite having like two of the bigger teams in Scotland, there's not actually loads of players floating about who are actually from Dundee.
No.
So to get one that playing at a high level like Liverpool and then going to a team like Stoke.
And again, that's another thing about Charlie Adam. Some career he's had as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He dragged Blackpool into the Premier League on his own, basically.
Brilliant.
Like,
and he got that dream move to Liverpool. Like he's
playing beside Gerrard for a couple of years.
Like he's lived.
He's done a good career for himself.
He has. Fair play to him, and obviously he's, playing at Dundee, but he's always wanted to go back to Dundee. He's always said that.
It's nice that
he's
he's
career
there.
Yeah.
Fair play to him, you know.
Well, that's like Conway said he wanted to end his career at United, but obviously with the situation for him, he's ended up going to St John's. He's close to home. Like after a while, he considered like Dundee and that to be his home. So same with Paul Dixon, he wanted to. Like you say, players want to come home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where they feel comfortable, where they want to retire.
Craig Conway, like you'll never buy a pint in Dundee again. Scored 2 goals in the cup final, so
exactly.
Doesn't matter what he does. He's always going to be up there in terms of biggest United players ever. Just
that's why he's in the team just that day. You know what I mean? And
that'll never be forgotten. Again, another one. 50 years time, Craig Conway scored 2 goals in the Scottish Cup final with Dundee United. It's like Craig Brewster scoring. That never gets forgotten. That'll never get forgotten.
Exactly. So it's like. For me, that's what's
and you're lucky enough to have seen that, so he's got to be in the team.
Don't know how many cup finals we're going to get to win or whatever, you know what I mean? So when you do get those moments,
exactly, mate. Literally what I said in my podcast, I know how lucky I am to be supporting the team that I support, and I've been getting that regularly throughout my life, but I've always tried to say to myself, well, you never know when the next one will be. So when you're there, you have to. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. You don't know, because that is the beauty. That is the beauty of football and not being in a closed bracket, tournament and all that rubbish. You know, like
but
you have to. So you have to enjoy it when you do get there. Enjoy it for what it is, and remember the boys that do the business when you do get there.
Exactly. But Craig, thank you so much, mate.
It's been a pleasure.
That was a brilliant podcast, mate. Thanks for coming on.
No worries.
Guys, what do you think of that Craig's team then?
Another Dundee United team that didn't get Johnny Russell or David Goodwillie in it, eh? Who'd have... no Ryan Gauld.
That's pretty mental, eh? The golden boy.
He's going to the Euros and he's not getting in this fucking team.
Is he going
I wonder what Ross has got to say about that.
Is he going to the Euros though?
Yes. Did you not watch the first podcast?
Yes.
Well, no, we've got one question over here.
Anyway, are you the manager? Steve Clark will not pick him for some reason.
Anyway.
Yeah, guys, thanks for listening. Guys, if you like that, please like, subscribe, and you know what to do.
Ring that bell! We'll see you on the next one, boys.
Cheerio, bye, guys.
Shut up!